Hi everyone, my name's Tim and today we are going to make whole oat pancakes. This is usually a oat and whole wheat pancakes, however, we didn't have wheat today, so we're just going to improvise. We're going to go with whole oats from oatmeal that we got at the store, and let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to convert the oats, the oatmeal, into flour. Basically, I want to put it in my blender, and we're going to basically pulverize it. So I'm going to do 2 cups of oats, and I'm going to pulverize it down to about a cup of, a fine powder, and then I'll add that with a cup and a half of regular flour, and we'll use that as the base for our pancake recipe. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to do 2 cups here, and I think I've got enough in here for 2 cups. If not, I've got the other container in the closet. Nope, we've got enough. Pour it in there, cap it, here you go. This is the before shot. Let's go throw it on the blender. So I've turned my blender on, and I'm going to hit pulse. And you'll see that it's blending the bottom here, draining, it's being pulverized into a fine powder. I'll go ahead and give it a little shake. And that's great. That's a powder. We'll go ahead and bring it back over here and get it into the mixing bowl. So we now have 1 cup of our oatmeal flour. We'll go ahead and stick it back in the blender here on my stand mixer. Pop that down. I will get out a cup of flour and then our dry ingredients. It's going to be baking powder. I want 1 tablespoon of baking powder. I want 1 teaspoon of baking soda and about 4 shakes of salt. All right, now we're going to add those dry ingredients. I've got my 1 cup of flour, and I'm going to go ahead and sift that. Let me get I don't have a sifter, but I do have a wire strainer. So when I want to sift flour through the strainer, I will take my cup of flour, put it in here, try not to make too much of a mess, and I'll just begin to sift. Now, in doing that, that's going to break up the flour. It's not going to be as clumpy. It's going to, mix in better with the oats and with the other ingredients before we add the wet team, if you will. Put my flour away. Cap that, move that off to the side. Baking soda, 1 level teaspoon. Drop it in. Move that off to the side. Baking powder, 1 tablespoon. Drop that in, making a little bit of a mess here, clean that up. And a few dashes of salt. All right, now I'm going to stick that here on my stand mixer, connect it, and we're going to blend it. If you don't have a stand mixer, that's fine. When Grandpa taught me this recipe, I was the stand mixer. I would have to stand there, I'd have to take the whisk, and I would have to mix. So over the years, I think I've earned the right to use the stand mixer, but if you don't have one, that's going to be perfectly fine. Here we have our ingredients in the bowl. We're going to raise the stand mixer and start it on low. Increase the speed slightly. All right. That's all I need for now. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this to a bowl, and then we're going to start working on the wet ingredients. And what we want to do is we want to have the dry ingredients in a larger bowl and then add the wet ingredients to that and fold that in. And we don't want to overwork that because we don't want to work the glutens. But we want to work it just gently in that other bowl, and then that's what we'll use to pour our pancake batter out into the griddle. Taking it off the stand mixer, transferring it to my bowl, trying not to make a mess. Clean up my countertop again because I was not entirely successful. Then stick that back on the mixer, and we will set this to the side, clean up, and get ready for the wet ingredients. I'm taking my egg, I'm gonna crack, just drop it in, crack it in. Oh my, it looks like our fridge is a little on the colder side because this egg has actually, the yolk has started to it's started to freeze. Interesting, okay. So I'll be sure to mix that a little more than usual as I put that in. The next ingredient we're going to add is lemon juice. I'm not using buttermilk here. Buttermilk has higher acidity than regular milk. And since I don't have buttermilk, I'm going to achieve that acidity by using 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. The acidity in the lemon juice is going to cause the emulsification with the baking soda. So basically, this is what's going to activate the baking soda when you put it in your recipe. Drop that in there. The next ingredient, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. The last ingredient I'm going to add is a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Now, my normal pancake recipe, the way I learned it was a 1/2 cup of white sugar, regular sugar. But because this is an oatmeal pancake or a whole wheat pancake, I want kind of that earthy flavor to it. I want something a little more, I don't want it as sweet as a regular pancake. I want it to take on a different color, different texture, different flavors. So to accomplish that, I'm going to use cinnamon sugar. So I'm going to start with my 1/2 cup, and it doesn't have to be level. I'm going to cheat a little bit. There's my 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And I was slacking. I did not get the cinnamon, so I'm going to jump over here real quick. And just give it a couple shakes of cinnamon. All right, there we go. Let's get this cleaned up and let's start mixing. Here we have our wet mixture. I'm going to attach my my whisk, raise this up, and let's go ahead and get mixing. Let's start it a little lower. Increase the speed. And as it usually happens, I forgot one more ingredient. So we're going to come back over here to the refrigerator. Down at the very bottom, we're going to get our vanilla flavor, because I do want to add a little bit of vanilla flavor to this as well. Now, a teaspoon or a couple squirts. Turn it back on. I didn't learn this recipe with vanilla when my grandpa taught it to me ages ago. It wasn't until as I got older and I watched other people do it that I saw someone putting in vanilla. I tried it and I'm like, that's good, I'm gonna borrow that. I like that, it works. Alright, we're going to call that good there. And we're going to start folding that into our dry mixture. Alright, now it's time for the fun part. We're going to combine them. We're going to put the wet ingredients into the dry. We're going to fold it gently just a few times, and I've got my griddle over here. And we're going to get it warmed up and get it started. Let's do this. Oh, look, it's you. You can see the reflection. All right, let's go ahead and get going. So my griddle is going to go to 350. And we'll try to do a test pancake there, and if that's too hot, we'll bring it down to, or we'll leave it and just watch it. If it's not hot enough, which I don't believe it will be on some griddles, I've been known to take it up to 375. I very rarely ever had to go lower than 350 for pancakes. All right. I'm going to take this, we're going to begin folding it in just a little bit at a time. I don't want to overwork it. Add a little more. So I'm looking for about 1/4 of the batter at a time. We'll mix it up. Again, I don't want to go too much. Now, when I learned this, I was taught to add the dry ingredients to the wet. I have since found from, reading, watching, well, mostly watching, other chefs, that if you add the wet ingredients to the dry and you add it in smaller batches, the batter actually comes up fluffier, and it's going to give you a better pancake. And I've adopted that into my own recipe. I'll give credit where credit is due. That's totally Alton Brown. Let's go ahead and mix. And we're getting almost an oatmeal-like consistency here. Let's add a little more. That's not the consistency I'm going for, by the way. That's just where we're at right now. We're still mixing. All right, one more. And got my spatula here to scrape the bowl. Clang. Set that off in the sink. And let's mix the last little bit. And yeah, I'm glad we held off on that last bit of water, because I think this is going to be all of the batter that we need. If you find that it's too runny, you can add a little more flour to thicken it. Just add a little at a time. If it's actually too thick, you can add a little bit more milk to thin it out. However, I will tell you from experience, don't add too much flour, otherwise it's going to taste like flour, and it's not going to taste like a pancake. Yeah, guilty on that. Alright, so we have a nice wet batter consistency. I'm going to scrape that off. I think my griddle is warm, and let's go ahead and take this to town. My griddle is warm and ready. We're going to turn that down just a notch. And we're going to start with the first pancake. Here we go. Take my ladle. Scrape it off the side, just bring it over here. Spread it out a little bit. And we will let that cook. Now we're going to give it about a minute or two, and we'll know it's ready to flip when we start seeing bubbles on the surface break. Now, unfortunately, yeah, it's about as exciting as watching the paint dry. But keep in mind that it is cooking underneath. I'm just going to peek and I'm going to show you, don't do this too much. Okay, it's moving. You'll notice it's kind of got this off color because I did grease my griddle with olive oil first, and that hot grease, when it hits the batter, it does kind of tend to do a little discoloring, but I like to make sure that my griddle is, greased enough. I've had pancakes stick, but usually it's not too much of a problem. So we'll just go ahead and add another one over here just for comparison. Now, one thing you can notice, and I'll try and give you a side angle here, is that this pancake is slightly beginning to rise. And again, that's what we wanted. We wanted, with the, the emulsification from the acidity, the lemon juice, and the base, the baking soda that we added in here, just to cause it to rise, give it that fluffiness that we were going for. And I think he's ready. I mean, I see a couple bubbles breaking. I'd like to see a couple more to make me a little happier. Like this one, yeah, that's looking really, really good. Those bubbles are breaking. There we go. Ooh, that looks very pretty. This one, we'll give it just another moment. And let's go for it. And that is the golden color I was talking about. You know, if we compare these two side by side, this one, I mean, it's a non-stick griddle, you know, put a little bit of oil on it and then wiped it back off. Now, this one hasn't really been messed with by the oil, but here the hot oil, you know, had an effect on the pancake as soon as I put it on there. So usually my first couple pancakes will come out like this, and then the rest of them will more look like this as I go. Again, as long as your griddle is hot enough, they're not going to stick. It's not going to be too much of an issue. And again, notice this guy is starting to fluff up nicely. We'll let him just continue to cook. This one's even starting to pop up there. You can kind of see it. And we'll be ready for our taste test. Now, there isn't much of an indication of when they're ready to flip one more time. I give them about a minute. I'll check underneath. And that last time really is just to get, you know, the top crisp. Gives it a nice, you know, texture on top. Flip it back over. Kind of hear that. And that one should be ready. Let's take them off and let's see how we did. All right, so now is the moment of truth. We have our plate of pancakes. And under normal circumstances, I would have already fried an egg by now, and I would be covering this in syrup. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to take it and we're going to look on the inside. So I'm going to break it open, try not to burn my hands here. That is hot. And I'm going to let you guys see. And can we focus on that? Not very well. We'll try the other camera, see if we can get you guys kind of what's going on. But it's got, you know, almost a bread, you know, it's got a good cake-like texture. It's cooked all the way through. When we taste it, I'm getting the earthiness from the... I'm so sorry, I'm actually talking with my mouth full. And it's kind of hard to narrate, but, you know, that's the way it is. Yeah, I'm getting the earthiness of the cinnamon. Maybe could have used a touch more sugar. Again, I'm usually used to doing, I use bran flakes. We throw a cup of bran flakes in the blender and use that with a cup of oatmeal instead of the 2 cups of oatmeal. And that's usually what gives it a different flavor, but still, this is really, really good. As you can see, that is cooked all the way through. It's gonna have this earthy, white, fluffy texture to it that we really, really like. It's gonna make it, you know, moist. You know, it's not gonna be dense when the kids eat it. However, I found with enough sugar, it doesn't matter. You put it on there, the kids are going to demolish it. They're going to be happy campers. This is going to make everyone in your family super happy. Guys, I want to say thank you for hanging out with me today. I'm looking forward to sharing with you more recipes here in our tiny little kitchen. But this is just one of the ways that, you know, I get to serve my family. They love it. They enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to sharing more of what I've learned with everyone out there. Thank you and have a wonderful day.